Welcome back to another episode on the podcast. Today, we're going to dig in a little bit to deconditioning, to understanding the programming, waking up, kind of all of these themes, specifically deconditioning with human design, which I know many of you in here are in the human design world. You're navigating it. And I will give a little caveat. My kids are both home. My son was not feeling great from camp, so I picked him up. So if you hear shouting in the next room, that's what that is. I know Zoom is really good about cutting that out, and I will do my best to keep it out of the audio. But we're lifing. We're here lifing. And so we just had our very first coffee chat, and it was so beautiful. And this conversation that we've been having with so many of you was really brought up so much in this live call that we had. We wanted a space where we could be real, where we could have the conversations that we don't necessarily always see on social media, right? I think a lot of times we see people's highlight reels, we connect with people, or we're in like larger groups. And so it was really nice to just have like this small container where we shared our stories, where we're at in life. And what's been coming up so much is that it might look a little bit differently for all of us, but we're kind of all in this same phase, this transitional phase. And if you're drawn to the podcast, if you're drawn to, my work on social media, if you're drawn to the blog, if you're drawn to even just the coffee chats or third space, there's this underlying theme of transition that really started in 2020. And the story is still unfolding. The story is still going on. And to connect and see how we're navigating it and experiencing it and the parallels that a lot of us are feeling. And a big theme that came up during this call was how we're kind of being called back to our roots in a sense, which makes so much sense with Jupiter and Venus conjuncting in Cancer. But we're really feeling called back to, our roots and the way that we are designed to be in collaboration, in connection. And something that I was thinking about was that connection and community is one of our absolute needs, right? Like if you think about conditioning and a lot of the narratives and patterns that we recycle throughout our life were things that were implemented when we were between that 0 to 7 year age range that we felt would keep us connected, that would keep us safe, that would keep us receiving that love. And the reason why we suppressed or rejected parts of ourselves were because we perceived that those parts of ourselves were going to have us feeling rejected, or were going to, revoke love from us, sever the connection with others. And of course, ideally in a perfect world, our parents are unconditionally loving us. And I believe they are, but we pick up these messaging, right? Because we're human, and that's how it is. And, I think there's I don't know where the quote or statistic comes from, but loneliness will do more physical damage to you than smoking cigarettes. And I think that really shows how important connection and community is. And this is also part of why we created these coffee chats and why we created Third Space, because we saw this need for real collaboration, real community, real support that we're not necessarily experiencing. And, like myself, I do have my parents in the city that I live in. And I know a lot of people, and I'm air quoting it if you're not watching the video, I know a lot of people, but I don't have support. A lot of my support comes from the online space, from people I've met online, social media, things like that. And so I think we're really being called in this new world, this new age, this new earth, so Aquarian age, whatever you want to call it, we're really being called back to things that work. We're seeing things that work. I'm reading the book, The Soul of Money. And the author is I don't know I think she organizes, or she's the, oh my gosh, fundraiser for the Hunger Project. And so the whole book talks a lot about the energy of money and how we can, the shadows attached to money. But there's this underlying theme that we, in connection, collaboration, and supporting each other. And the energy where it's not you or I, it's you and I, we can really make things happen. And there was also a quote, and I'm probably not going to get it exactly right, but it's like there's enough for what we need, but there's not enough for our greed. And a lot of the premise of the book, she keeps coming back to that you can give starving countries exorbitant amounts of money. You can give them food, but if you're not ingraining an ability to connect and resource each other in that community, they'll go through the money, they'll eat the food, and they'll still be the same way. It's kind of that concept, like you can give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, but teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime, right? It's literally that. And I think that collectively we're coming back to understanding our need for community, connection, collaboration, networking. Like these are so much a parts of human nature that in this like corporate, sterile, hustle and grind, we're like this lone wolf. And I think so many of us are proud of being the lone wolf. And it's just not working, right? We are a society of sick, sad, angry humans. And we're not designed to be like that. Like, again, like I said, I have my parents near me, but there have been many times where I've been in my closet crying and I'm just like, we are not supposed to parent alone. We're not supposed to do any of this alone. Like, we are not supposed to be this alone, trying to navigate and figure out life. And so that was a huge reason why we created this third space. And I really wanted to dig into, again, conditioning, deconditioning, the process of deconditioning, what that looks like, and how we can navigate it. Because I've been in my experiment for 7 to 8 years. I think I first discovered human design late 2018. And, as a manifesting generator, 6/3 manifesting generator, my process has always looked a little bit chaotic, where I'm just like in it and I'm like figuring it out. And I wanted to like decondition as fast as I could. I was like, I'm going to be the one person that's just going to break the system. But of course, it never works like that. And the beautiful thing with human design is that as we go, it's like the onion, right? You peel back one layer and you think you got it, but then there's another layer and it reveals itself to you over time. And when you read deeper, more complex teachings or concepts by Ra, who was the man who downloaded the human design system, when you go deeper into deeper layers of human design, he talks about how he didn't teach those for a long time because as the human mind does, as the ego does, as our conditioning does, the deeper and more complex we get, we make it more complex. And so he really circled around type, strategy, and authority for a long time before he really dove into the layers of, colors, tones, PHS, rave psychology, rave cosmology, all of those things. He really kind of stayed on the surface because, like he says, if you unlock your type, strategy, and authority, if you understand, if you do nothing else but really, really experiment with those, everything else will naturally fall into place. Like you can know the most detailed, complex part of your chart. Like I know so much about my chart. It's crazy, right? But like when you get in the like nitty gritty, like you lose the plot a little bit often, right? So if you are not aligning with your type, strategy, and authority, more information is just going to complicate it. More information is just going to overload you. And so that's why we keep coming back to type, strategy, and authority in the human design world. It's beautiful to know all the rest, and it's helpful to know all the rest. But like human design works in layers, if you haven't peeled back the first layer, digging a hole down to the 10th layer, nothing else is going to make sense. You're just going to be confused. And so the deconditioning process really starts in the experiment. And that's what it is. It's like, how can we have fun with it? How can we explore and experience and just like be in it without getting overwhelmed by it? So if you don't have your chart, if you haven't pulled your chart, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a link in the show notes that you can get your chart. And you want to look at those type, strategy, and authority. So your type will either be generator, manifesting generator, manifester, projector, or reflector. This is your energy type. This is how we are designed to be in the world. And just this alone, when I first learned human design, just this alone changed the game. Like I'm a manifesting generator. So to understand that me jumping all over the place, skipping steps, having like multi-talented, multi-passionate, I was like, oh, I didn't just quit everything. I was just, my attention was everywhere. My attention, I was so interested in so many different things. And I've heard people who are like, I'm just like not good at anything. There's just like always something new. And that's very MG energy. And there might be something that draws your attention. Like for me, like human design was like the thing, human design astrology, where I was just like landed in it. And I've had very different draws within that arena. But when I stepped in that, when I opened that door, I was like, this is it. I'm home and I can explore every aspect of this to my heart's content. And so, they talk about like niching and MGs are like, no, I can't niche. And that's partly the MG thing. There's partly shadows with that where it's like, I want to cater to everybody. But the more you narrow down, the more easily you are. And then it's like, what is my offering? How am I niching? And then when you come into my world, you get the multifaceted MG energy, right? All of the things in there. But understanding your type, and there have been other podcast episodes that I've really done on type strategy and authority. So you can head up and just type in whatever under my the podcast and they'll come up. I've had guest speakers on here. There's been so much around human design, but really exploring what your energy type means for you. And like I always say, like trust yourself. You know you best. And that's been another thing that's really been coming up for me is like trusting my body, trusting my process in the little ways. Like I was going for a walk today and I was walking to get coffee. And the whole time I was walking, I was like, I really don't feel like coffee. I really don't feel like coffee. And okay, this is going to go on rabbit holes, but there was like multiple lessons on this one walk. I don't know why it was this morning, maybe because it's Jupiter Venus conjunction and the world was just like, we're going to help you move through this. And okay, let me tell my story and then I'll go off on a side note and then we'll we'll come back around because there's so much that I have to say today. So I'm on this walk going to get coffee that I don't really feel like I need, but this is kind of my routine is I walk my son to camp and then I go for a walk, I grab a coffee and then I walk home. And that's kind of my little hour cardio for the day, my movement. And I love it because I can drop in, I can be intuitive, I can flow and all the things. So I'm walking to go get coffee that I know intuitively that I don't actually want, but I'm just doing it because it's a habit at this point. It's a pattern. And I see a dollar bill on the ground, just, on the sidewalk, crumpled up kind of. And I immediately was like, if I bend to pick this up, is there going to be like a camera here or somebody like recording me? I was going to be like somewhere like she picked up the dollar, like how selfish, whatever. And yes, it was one single dollar. But the way you treat one penny is the way you're going to treat 1,000, 100,000, a million, right? It's the same energy. Money is energy. And so I stepped over it. And as I'm like walking away, I'm like, okay, well, maybe somebody who needs it more will pick it up. Maybe, whatever, somebody who dropped it really will come back and find it, whatever, over $1. Yes. So then I'm walking, and I get to the coffee shop and I open the door. And again, I'm still like, I don't really want a coffee, but I'm just like going through the motions. I'm on autopilot, maybe because I was zoning out, I was listening to something, whatever. So I walk into the coffee shop and the line was so long that I was like, thank you, universe, for making my decision for me. So I left. I was like, I don't really feel like I don't want the coffee that bad. So I'm not going to stand in line. And mind you, when I go there at this time in the morning, there's never a line ever. It's like 10 a.m. There's never a line, but this line was like out the door almost. So I was like, okay, cool. Thanks, universe. You made up my mind. So then I'm walking back a different route. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get back on that sidewalk and I'm going to go see if that dollar bill is still there. So then I'm walking. I step over a penny. Yes, a little bitty penny. Because literally, as I was thinking, how you treat a penny is how you treat $1, how you treat 100, blah. And I kept walking. And as I was walking, I was like, what is the lesson here? Like, should I go back and pick up the penny? And I didn't. I just left it. And so that I keep walking. I'm like, okay, maybe the dollar's there. So I go to the dollar and the dollar was there. So I picked it up and I put it in my pocket. And I'm still thinking, like, oh, somebody recording me, somebody watching. But I was like simultaneously having fun with it, pondering the lessons, having gratitude, and just witnessing all of the narratives that came up around this fucking dollar. It was a dollar bill, right? But it's the energetics of, oh, I'm selfish because I didn't leave it. I'm greedy, or what if somebody needs it more than me? Or what if the person that lot, like all these stories. And then I had to remember, like, today is Venus conjunct Jupiter. abundance. The universe wants to give. There's lessons here. And also, I know I've been talking about the abundance of this transit. So many astrologers have been talking about this transit. And I know when this episode comes out, the transit will have passed. We'll still be in the energy of it a little bit. But I had to remember that during this transit, Jupiter and Venus are in a T square out of sign, but they're in a T square to Chiron and Pluto, with Chiron being the focal point of the T square. Chiron has been so active in the transits since, I mean, for a while, especially because it's in Aries, but like I'm talking like new moons, full moons, like so much has been really highlighting Chiron. Chiron in Aries, again, and I keep saying it, Chiron in Aries is the wounded healer. Chiron is the healer who could not heal himself. The wound in Aries is around who we learned we were through other people, because Aries naturally rules the first house. And when you think about your rising sign is the lens that you're learning the lessons of life to step into the energy of your sun, right? Like this is the lens that you view life from. And Aries, Aries is bold, it's action oriented, it's assertive, it's individuated, it's the I am. And it's also that like adolescent kind of energy. And it learns who it is based on how people perceive it. Because another thing with your rising sign is this is how people see you. This is how you appear to people. So it's really, obviously, really powerful part of your chart. And if you know your rising gate in human design, it'll give you a little extra nuance and flair to your rising sign. And so I'm like navigating all this and I'm thinking about all this. I'm like, yeah, like this theme around these narratives and these stories, because Jupiter loves to be in Cancer. Jupiter's exalted in Cancer. And Cancer is your roots, your home life, your inner world, your childhood, your inner child, your ancestors, all of the conditioning that you took on from 0 to 7 years. And so it's like, makes so much sense that all of this is coming up specifically around money, because yes, Venus is money, but it's also just material, it's wealth, it's abundance, it's relationships, it's love, it's creativity, it's beauty, it's art, it's senses, it's all these things. And love and money are the same energy. So when you really distill Venus down, those are the two core themes: love and money. Material, you could say material things, money, it's all energetics. It's all energetics. And how you show up to one is how you show up to another. And so as I was like on this walk and saw this dollar bill and then saw the penny, and then the universe was just like, you don't really want the coffee, just keep walking. Like I was like, I hear you. And that's been another thing for me too, is very much being in conversation with the universe, with my intuition, with my body, because it always knows. And like listening to those stories, like even just in little ways, like when I'm at work, those of you who don't know, I also bartend. And so when I'm at work and I'm taking an order, if there's something in the back of my mind that's like, repeat the order, and I don't, 9 out of 10 times I got it wrong. I knew it. I always know it. And you always know it, right? You always know it. And so this also leads me to our authority in human design, right? So we have type, strategy, and authority. Your authority is essentially your decision making. And again, experiment with it, have fun with it, play with it, make it like a game, make it like something that you enjoy doing that doesn't have to be so serious. And also, if you're a serious type of person, you're a serious type of person. I think authenticity is like everything right now, but your authority will be one of 7, I believe, right? 6 or 7. I can't remember. So we have emotional authority, which 51% of us are emotionally defined. So majority of us are emotionally defined. You have emotional authority, you have sacral authority, you have splenic authority, you have ego manifested, ego projected, self-projected, environmental, and lunar. So all of those are your authorities. Essentially, the whole premise, the whole concept of authority is to get you out of your mind and into your body. So if you have emotional authority, like myself and like 51% of the population, we have to ride this wave of emotions to come to a conclusion, to come to an answer, to understand what our body, our intuition is telling us. So for me, this looks like Sometimes this takes a long time. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just a matter of 5 minutes. Sometimes I need to sleep on it. Sometimes I need to give it a week. The bigger the decision, the longer that we have to wait. And the reason for this, specifically with emotional authority, is because there's a whole bunch of information that comes from the high of our wave, and there's a whole bunch of information that comes from the low of our wave. And we can't see the other perspective when we're in one extreme or the other. We have to come to this neutral place. And there's always this quiet knowing. When I come to this neutral place, whether it's in meditation or I'm just like, whatever, there's always this knowing of like, there it is. That's it. Let's see if this works. Probably not. Maybe. Okay. There we go. So there's always this like quiet knowing, very quiet. And it's just like, there it is. Not emotionally charged. It's just a knowing. And if you have sacral authority, that's yes or no. This is like a body, like it's like that. The sacral speaks through noises, grunts. If there's any hesitation, it's usually a no. And this is like learning to say no. It's a huge lesson here, right? Learning to say, give me 5 minutes, give me a minute. But we always kind of like know. Splenic authority is, it's a very quiet whisper. It hits once. You need to be really in tune with your body. All of them require you. I'm like always about the body. That's like part of my thing, but like all of them require you to be in your body and to be connected to your body. And then you have ego manifested, ego projected. This is listening to what you have to say, the I wants, the I statements, kind of self-projected, listening to what like out loud, speaking out loud. Environmental is listening to your body. And then lunar authority is waiting 28 days, which of course you can't always wait 28 days for some decisions. But typically, if you feel the pressure, then it's probably a no. So experimenting with your authority, experimenting, exploring. Something that I always do inside any container, a coaching container, inside Holistic Human Design Academy, is that play with spending a day or two saying yes to everything, and then play with spending a day or two saying no to everything, and notice what happens in your body. Notice what happens when you say yes and you want to say no, or vice versa. When you say no, when you want to say yes, notice. And the more that you notice it in little ways, start using it in little ways. We have to build the trust back in little ways. It's like if you break trust in a relationship, it takes time to build that trust back to actually, and we so often self-abandon. I have been very transparent on here. I've talked about it, my up and down relationship with alcohol. And it's not necessarily the alcohol that's the issue. It's the self-abandonment that I feel, right? When I'm like, okay, I'm not going to drink this week. Even if I have one drink, I still feel immense guilt about it because I'm like, I said I wasn't going to drink. So it's like, either just like don't set those standards for myself or just like fully enjoy it, right? Like I was like, I'm not going to drink for June. And then it was my daughter's birthday. And there's always excuses, right? But it is this like, I know that on my path, and I think also we can compare ourselves to other people. Like, oh, all the people in the spiritual community are sober or, whatever it is. And we take that on for ourselves. And so it's like, I had a shamanic healing 2021. I went to Mexico and had a shamanic healing. It was so beautiful, like so powerful. And when I was leaving, she was like, hey, if you ever feel like really ungrounded, have a glass of red wine. She's like, not a bottle. I'm not telling you to go and drink a bottle of red wine every single day. But if you feel ungrounded, red wine will anchor you. It'll help ground you. And so now when I'm like, okay, if I say I'm not going to drink, I'm air quoting. If I say I'm not going to drink, and then I'm like, I'm going to have a glass of something, or I'm going to have a drink, or I'm in the mood, or like I'm out and it just feels aligned to have it. That's what I try and have is I have a glass of red wine to anchor me in. Cause I'm like, am I weaving in the spiritual? Am I like, because like, I really, it's like, it's that when you start to awaken, when you start to see things, when you start to understand how on autopilot we all are, it's like, I don't want to numb myself out. I don't want to not be able to be in that energy. I want to further explore my consciousness. I want to further awaken. I want to be in that. I want to understand more because my current explorations have been around, like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like the same thing keeps coming up to me. Kind of the math behind the secrets of the universe or whatever, right? Like Fibonacci sequences and numbers and 369 and 666 and like all these really, they're fascinating, so fascinating. And numbers have always been really challenging for me. And how does this equate to alcohol? But it's like if I drink, then I'm groggy. And it's like the thing that I'm already struggling to connect to, like, it's just, there's no point. And I really want to expand my mind in that sense too. So it's, again, listening to your body, being in your body, because the hard thing to do that we do is what creates the outcome, right? Like the person that goes to the gym is the way that they are because they get up and go to the gym, right? Like they're the type of person that goes to the gym when they don't want to go to the gym. And that's why they have the body, the mindset, the whatever it is that they have, right? The person completely at peace is at peace because they show up to meditation every single day when they don't want to. The hard things that we know we can do, that adds to our personality, that creates the devotion, the dedication. Because if it was easy for everyone, everyone would be doing it, right? And there's so many distractions. There's so much happening that pull, because we're human. We're in the 3D, right? We're human and we're easily distracted. This part of the journey, this part of the process here. And so I have to think about that. It's like me saying no when I want to say yes, or saying, hold on one second. Okay, interruption. So my daughter is starting her first day of work today, and I have so many feelings about this, but she's like, this outfit is so chopped. I'm like, I know, I mean, you're going to work. That's kind of part of it. But so me saying yes when I really want to say no, it's self-abandoning, and it's harder to say no. It's hard to say no in a situation where, we've been taught that we connect over alcohol. It makes us a little looser. It kind of gives us that little escapist thing. It kind of takes the edge off and it feels good. And it really does. Right. And that's part of why I like to drink, right? Like throughout my life, why I feel like I fit in more, all those things. And then we have to remember too, like if somebody doesn't accept me as I am, if I have to drink to be in the room with someone, am I meant to be in that room? And so the harder thing is to say no and to sit and be sober. Like I went a year sober, and then I've done months here and there, and it's really confronting and it's really challenging. And we were talking about connection and how that's such an important part of human nature. And so when we're not drinking and we're not, you know, showing up in that way, we have to face ourselves. It's really, really confronting, and it's really scary because we're like, are we going to lose friends? And yeah, we do. Like I lost a lot of friends and acquaintances and people that I would hang out with because I wasn't drinking. And as part of it, and it'll also bring you in the room with people who are on the same path and who support you. And that is part of why we created Third Space and these coffee chats, because not all of us have the resources and the support in our day to day that we really crave, that we desire, that we want. And so like finding that in a way that does support us and that does make us feel seen and that makes us know that we're in the space in the room with people. I've met some of the best people online, and they're in my day to day, not physically, but we connect every day. We support each other. We send voice notes. And that's so beautiful to be around people who are on the same path, doing the same things that you want to do. And so it's this dual thing, this we were talking about on the coffee chat today too, where it's like, it's all fake. It is what we make it. It's all an illusion. It's all a simulation, and it's all real because we have bills to pay, and we have life, and we have job, and we have kids, and we have to support, and we have to feed, and like all the things. And so it's like, how do we balance and navigate this like dual life, right? And then when you're looking at astrology, even human design, we all have the centers in us. We all have all of the gates in us. We all have all of the channels in us. Every gate, center, channel, planet, sign holds archetypes, holds polarity, holds duality. And so where you find yourself on that spectrum is potential. And that's what astrology is, pure potential. We all have Virgo somewhere in our chart. Where you fall on that spectrum and how prominent it is for you depends on your chart. But we all have Virgo in our chart. We all have that archetype. We all have that energy somewhere in us. This is why I call myself like embodied, holistic human design coach. It seems like a long ass name, and it is, but it really encompasses what I feel like is the thing. Because, okay, example, I have Virgo in my second house. I have nothing in Virgo. I have my karmic point in my chart is in Virgo, which really just means I have a T square between Venus, Uranus, and Jupiter. Jupiter is the focal point of that T square. The opposite, my Jupiter is at 17 degrees of Pisces. The opposite karmic point, they call it, is would be 17 degrees of Virgo. So I have nothing there, but there's this pressure of Virgo. There's this pressure to get my shit together, to get organized, especially when it comes to my resources and my money. And yet it's like a phantom energy that I don't really have. So when I call Virgo people in, I can hook into it. But otherwise it's chaos. And so I know if I can call in that energy, if I can embody that energy, like I would probably be more successful financially. And also with Jupiter being the focal point of that T square at 17 degrees of Pisces, in my eighth house, I will add, this is other people's money. So sometimes I'm like, maybe I'm just supposed to sit here and like have other people support me. And I hold so much shame around that in my life, but also maybe it's just written in the stars, right? We could say. But more to the point of that, like there is alcohol, escapism, spirituality, psychicness, dream, like all of that is housed in that area. And because that's the focal point of my T square, it's like that is very real for me, very real. And so we all have everything within us. You have every sign, every planet, every gate, every channel, every center. It's all in you. It's all energetics inside of you. How does it show up? How do you experience it? If we're talking about, like Richard Rudd and the Gene Keys, there's a shadow, gift, and city. The gift is always found in the shadow, but are you in the shadow frequency? Are you in the gift frequency? Or are you in the highest expression? There's no right or wrong. It's really just what you came here to learn. And I know it's a frustrating answer because we're just like, I want to know and I want to be at my highest, most optimal timeline. And what also came up so much in our call today was that the journey is the point. The journey is the point. You can say you reach the gift of whatever it is you're working with. Say you're working with Gate 23 and you reach the gift of simplicity. The mark just gets pushed out, right? There's another goal. You want to then hit the city. And the thing is, once you hit the city, you don't even need the systems. You don't need anything because you got it. And your soul has evolved and you've transcended the purpose of this life of being here. But the purpose is the journey, right? And it can be really frustrating because we want to get there. So with all that being said, the purpose being the journey, we are called so much to authenticity right now. Like that is so much of what it is. Showing up, doing the thing, being in your passion. I often think that even with the business, it's like, they always say like, would you still do it if you weren't making money off of it? And I'm like, yes, yes, because oftentimes I do that. Right. And so it's just a very interesting journey, I guess. And it's like, how can we be authentic and in it and be in it and not stress about it? I mean, we're all going to have stresses, right? But it's like, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. We're always going to be in pain for certain things. I actually love this. What's her name? Oh my gosh, Kathy Heller. Her daughter asked her, did it hurt when you had me? And she said, yes, yes. Childbirth is painful. But she said, I wasn't suffering. I was in pain, but I wasn't suffering. And oh my gosh, I thought that was so beautiful. I was like, yes, there are some things in life that are painful, but we're not suffering. And so it's worth it. So why do women continue to have children over and over and over when it's so painful? It's because we're not suffering and we know the purpose to it. We know that journey of childbirth is bringing us this beautiful, incredible, amazing little thing, creature, human, right? That we then get to fuck up and mold and try and figure it out and cry over and love so much that we keep doing it. The pain is there, but the suffering isn't. And so, how can we kind of like look at the journey like that? Like, experience the pain, but know it's for something and not suffer. And how can we lean in? I think about the astrology in using it to move through and not for suffering, not for overthinking, not for getting lost in the complexities and the ego and the all the things, but like kind of that journey's the point, right? Like, how can we be in it and learn the lessons of it? Again, even just taking an example of today, like Jupiter, Venus conjunct in Cancer, that's in a T square to Pluto and Chiron. That's really intense, right? Like, yes, there are beautiful things. Like, I woke up this morning and actually felt really heavy in my chest. I was like, damn. I thought today was just going to be all abundant. And there were lessons and just like witnessing my reaction to like that dollar and a penny on the ground. It seems silly, but the saying, how you do one thing, you do everything. The energetics are the same. And I have been asking myself for a while. I've been single for a very long time. And I've gotten to the point where like I'm good with it. Like I've accepted it. I'm good with it. And also I do want a partner. Like I know that there's no other like I will find it. I have no doubt about it. I will find it. And so it's like, how can I enjoy the process and not be overly attached to any outcome, to not stay and create suffering out of the sometimes pain of being alone, of holidays are always kind of challenging when there's couples and family and you're just like party of one, right? Like, yes, I have my kids and it's beautiful. But being in the journey, experiencing the pain that is inevitable, but not being in the suffering. And I think, again, a big piece of the conversation lately has been deconditioning from societal narratives, societal standards, societal expectations. In the book, The Soul of Money, she talks about indigenous cultures and kind of how we're coming back around to understanding our connection with Earth and how Earth provides. Like, again, that quote that I said earlier about all we can meet every need, but not every greed, or something along those lines. But something that was said is like, we need to change the dream. The dream once upon a time, and again, everything is cyclical. And one, my generation's parents were very much in the I have to work harder, I have to make more money, I have to support in this very like because their parents were coming out of the depression. So that's what was instilled in them. Then you have like my generation where our parents were in that hustle and grind. So a lot of our parents really focused on the finances and the monetary things and the support and the this and that. And so we have like this very different mindset. And also astrology is very different, right? Like Pluto is a huge factor generationally. And so Pluto has been in Scorpio. So it's just like, very different energy, but everything is cyclical. And so it's like, we need to change the dream. We need to change the dream from more money, more success, more material, more things, more cars, more technology, more this. Because if we don't change the dream, nothing will change. And then we're still running on autopilot. But we need to change the collective dream. And yes, it starts with one of us, but we have like you contribute to it. So how can you change your own narrative? And how can you begin to decondition? And so the whole point of this kind of podcast was to come here and really talk about that and like asking the hard questions, playing with your type, strategy, and authority, right? Like trusting yourself. How can you be in more trust, in more conversation with your body and your intuition, your knowing? Because we all know, but how can you be more in connection with that and trust it? Start with the little things, right? Food. Do I actually want to eat this thing or am I just bored? It's like so much, right? And kind of starting there. So yeah, so I mean, I could keep going on, but I think that it's the conversation is there. The conversation is really important. Join us for our next coffee chats. The link is going to be down below. Join us inside Third Space. this is a space where these are the conversations we want to have. These are the things that we're doing. We're supporting, connecting. I mean, it's just, we're figuring this out. We're in this phase where we know the old dream isn't working, but we don't know what the new one is. We're in this liminal phase. We're in this bridge period. Things are changing, things are shifting. We don't know what it's going to look like in 10, 15, 20 years. Astrology can predict things, but it's all potentials. It's going to look differently for everyone. And we're all creating our own reality. There are different timelines. So your timeline might be different from mine. So it's all pure potential, right? But I think that what we can do is come closer into ourselves, be resourced. And I don't necessarily only mean financially, but like be resourced emotionally in whatever way that means for you by others, resource each other. Again, it's not you or me, it's you and me. And how can we bring that more in to collaborate and connect and like be in that energy more? And that's the premise of Third Space. That's why we created it, because we want to create a container that supports that. All the links are down below. Thank you so much for listening. If this resonated, share with a friend. Find me on social media at Rochelle Christian. Christian, ROCHELLE.CHRISTIANE. It's going to be the same everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, Substack, YouTube, website, everything. Rochelle Christian. So find me there, and I will talk to you next week.